Hey everybody, this is Frame by Frame, and this is a little bit of a plug before the show starts. So, here you go. Are you ready? You can find us at iTunes Store by searching for us there, Frame by Frame, separate words, under the podcast category. Look for our logo and then subscribe. You can listen to our podcast directly with SoundCloud, which is at the SoundCloud website, frame-by-frame-2. You can bookmark the website where you can actually find all the above links at roastedportions.com. Follow us on Twitter at framebyframe78, all one word. And you could also go to framebyframe78 with the Facebook group and interact with us there on all our exciting little ponderings during the week when we're actually not podcasting. So please, check us out, subscribe, follow, bookmark, support, listen, and enjoy. This is Frame by Frame. On with the show.
You talking to me?
Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
Then who the hell are you talking? You talking to me?
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like a clown.
I'm Peter Venkman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Man that doesn't spend time with his family will never be a real man.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a big deal.
First rule of my club is do not talk about my club.
Yeah, baby.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And the clock is running!
Hello everyone out there, how you doing? Hello Cambodians.
Welcome, Cambodia, to our podcast. Thank you very much for supporting us.
Yeah, we got excited because we had a John Carpenter episode was the first one to go onto iTunes.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly just blew up and went, you know, we suddenly had
Supernova
400.
episode.
Yeah, we suddenly had within an hour there was like a few hundred, and then within the next hour was like 420 odd. And
Yeah, we were just texting numbers all day. It was
it was really rather exciting, but it turns out that it was just one place in Cambodia that seemed to be listening to it.
Yeah, it
No one
was
else.
Phnom Penh.
Yeah, Phnom Penh.
Phnom Penh. Was it
Phnom
Phnom
Penh.
Penh? Yeah, it's the capital of Cambodia.
Yeah, so it's either drug lords really, really like John Carpenter films.
Oh, there was a John
there
Carpenter convention.
Oh, there could have been for just that few hours.
And they well, for a few days, it was a couple of days, I think,
Oh,
we
right,
got the stats. But they were just passing each other and saying, hey, you should listen to Frame by Frame.
With that unique Cambodian accent that they have.
Yeah, it was all coming from Apple Core Media, which is Android smartphone.
Yeah.
And I thought, great! iTunes has kicked in. We're megastars. Oh, look, country.
It's all from one place.
Cambodia. I mean, of all countries, Cambodia. Why? Why would it just get... We still don't know why it happened. We know it's a glitch.
Yeah, because you took it off and put it back on and it stops.
Yeah, and the counter just froze at 484, I think.
But we're still here, we're still doing our thing, so what are we going to talk about this week?
We're going to talk about a horror film.
We are. That's a surprise.
That's a surprise.
Well, interesting thing.
Yeah.
We both watched Insidious 3.
Okay.
I kind of spoiled it for Stephen because I watched it expecting it to be really, really bad, and I was pleasantly surprised. It had some genuinely creepy moments which freaked me out a little bit while I was watching it. So I excitedly told Stephen to watch Insidious 3 because I was really impressed with it, and so he watched it with high expectations and they weren't met. So where I went with low expectations and it was better than I thought it was going to be, you went in with high expectations. It was nowhere near as good as you thought it was going to be because I bigged it up too much.
And that's where I think that's where we've come to with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the problem is when somebody tells me that if something's impressive, I start to make it in my own head as to what that could be, and I think it's very easily done to because I kind of think, well, this is going to be a horror movie unlike any other that I've seen, and it's going to rise above everything and I'm gonna have depth of characters. I'm gonna have unbelievable moments that would blow me away, and I just didn't get there. Just didn't reach that level. I don't know what that level is, because very rarely is it happening in horror films these days.
Yeah, but if you sort of like, because we were both really impressed with the Babadook, but the Babadook is just a jumpy film with an annoying kid in it. There's not.
But there's performance.
There is performance, but I recently watched the Babadook again. In fact, it was last Saturday. I got it on Blu-ray, and it's not that scary.
It's not so much scary. I think it's more the psychological. I think I was more enraptured with the mother than the actual Babadook story.
He's an Australian comedian, by the way.
Yeah, well, what
a performance!
I'd love to be able to see her do stand-up now.
Yeah,
be interesting to see. But yeah, whereas I don't go into a horror film wanting to be scared as much as feel as though that oh my gosh, these people are really in peril and I believe them. That's kind of what I look for. I look for the actual feeling of reality, the scary reality of this really is freaking these people out and they look terrified. But some films, they don't seem to kind of get the characters there. It's like with Poltergeist, where we talked the remake. We talked about the fact that they seem to have they have an understanding of what's going on right there in the moment. It's like it's an everyday occurrence. It's like they've got flying ants in their garden, and they go, "Oh, just go and get the spray. Go and get the spray." You know, it's like, "Oh, our daughter's been sucked into the television again. Go and get the spray."
Oh, that old thing.
That old thing. Let's not call the cops. But I need to tell them that. But yeah, so I kind of
my main problem with Poltergeist, like I said, is it felt like a remake of Insidious 1.
Yeah, which is kind of connected.
Yeah, and Insidious it's essentially Poltergeist.
Yeah,
and then the second one, Insidious, was just awful. It wasn't.
Yeah, there was a guy with a dice, and it was they basically put too much emphasis on trying to make jump scares for the sake of jump scares, and just trying to follow the boy. It was the boy who was actually possessed, but the husband was actually still possessed from the first movie, and it took the whole movie for them to realise that the husband was possessed all along.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's ridiculous.
But what I have with the third one is, I suppose with these films, I don't really go into them looking for amazing character development. I go in them as there's much same reason I'd go on a roller coaster. Yeah. Just to be scared and quiet, bang, quiet, bang. Mm-hmm. Some people might say that's a cheap way of making a horror film, and I guess in some respects it is.
Yeah.
But when it's done well, it can be really effective. So when I watched this film, I put it on, not expect it to be any good. No lights on, just a few candles. The door was open, it was raining outside, so it was quite atmospheric. And I've got to say, at certain parts, it got under my skin.
And what you just said there kind of puts it into perspective as well. Watching a horror film, you've got to watch it with the lights off, and you've got to kind of really feel the house around you is frightening. You can't do that with chick flicks. You can't really sit in a room full of balloons and bubbles and watch a chick flick, and have cake served by goddesses in the bikinis. You can't get that.
Yeah.
For a horror film, it's imperative that you have the atmosphere right.
Yeah,
and sometimes cinemas don't always have that atmosphere for me.
I suppose. Yeah,
sterile, bit of a sterile environment for a horror film.
I suppose, like a great horror film, no matter what, you'll probably get something out of it.
Yeah,
but
true.
With this, again, I know I keep reiterating the same point, is because I didn't expect it to be any good. So I would say, first and foremost, out of all the Insidious films, this is the best one.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
Sometimes a prequel can do that because it allows a filmmaker to kind of get to a core of something and strip away anything that the sequels have damaged, which is probably why prequels always happen generally, because there's no reason to go back if going forward seems to be so well done that they think, I don't want to follow this piece of junk, Insidious 2. let's go back.
Yeah.
Seems to be the common thing with horror films.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think the parts with this that worked the best was just the parts with the girl in the bedroom on her own.
Yeah.
You know, I even like when she went for that audition, she'd already asked, she tried to contact her mum, hadn't she? To just, she wants to talk to her mum, and her mum's gone, basically.
Yeah.
And she tried to contact her, and by doing that, she's let something else sort of attach to her. So I thought the little things before she was about to do that audition, when you just see that weird thing just waving at her.
Yeah.
That was quite creepy. And then she did her audition, which didn't go well, and she's all upset about it, talking to her friend. And then she's walking across the road, and then she sees that weird thing just waving at her in the distance again, and she stops, and then she gets hit by a car. Didn't see that coming.
No, and I don't. And to be honest, it was kind of too out of the blue for me. I was like, but it didn't shock me. I actually sat there and saw her just flumping to the road, and I thought, all I can think of was, I didn't hear a car coming. I didn't see lights. It's got full beams on, and it screeches as soon as it comes into shot. And I was picking it apart as soon as I saw it. So I can't. That's kind of my point. Is sometimes a jump scare throws me out of reality, and I'm like, why? I think a good jump scare, you go with it, and I kind of just bounced out. I bounced off the bonnet of that car and thought, no.
Right. Well, I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, whoa.
I wasn't expecting it. I'm not saying that. Definitely wasn't expecting it either. But as soon as it happened, I was kind of like, well, that wasn't done very well. That was just for the sake of a jump scare. And you just knocked over a pretty young girl who seems to have a big bloody patch already on the outside of her clothing. So I'm just always looking at these little details and thinking,
you're a cynic. That's what you are.
Yeah, but
you're not a critic. You're a cynic.
No. Now that because there are some good points in this movie. Let's talk about the good points.
Well, like I say, because that was a way to have her trapped in the bedroom and can't get out unless someone's there to help her.
Yeah, which is useful. Yeah, I think that was a good thing, good device.
So I'll talk about a little creepy bit. So she's in bed, she's got a little bell that she rings to get her dad, and then she puts her head down, and then the bell just rings, she turns around, and the bell's not moved. And then that was a little bit creepy. Yeah?
Yeah.
That was creepy, and then you just see that thing start coming behind her, very slowly, and you think, oh, what's going to happen? And then her dad comes to the bedroom, and it's all gone. Little things like that, I think, with me, work. What don't you like about that?
Sorry, no, I was just trying to make sure you didn't want pulling the cable.
Oh, right.
No, I like that. Yeah, I totally agree that. I think that there's this one thing. I mean, I like horror films to be a little bit more discreet, a little bit more ambiguous.
I suppose at that point it was, because you don't know what it is. It's the same, because you like that with It Follows, but not this. Because we have that with It Follows when that person's just coming across towards the school. Because
what it is, what the ambiguity is, what's behind it, rather than the actual thing that's actually
But we don't know what's behind that. That person, why is it in the bedroom? Why is it going to terrorise her? Yeah. We don't know why at that point.
Yeah, it's
still ambiguous at that point.
But it takes the form of anybody there.
Until Basil Exposition comes along.
Basil Exposition.
Because that was one of my... I put a Facebook post when I watched it. Said, just watched Insidious 3. Really impressed by it. A little bit too much of Basil Exposition.
Yes.
Yeah. He pops along quite a bit to tell you what's going on. Don't need that.
True. I mean, exposition. I mean, the one thing is, I kind of feel as though that that thing as a kid where you have that let's dress up this character flip book thing, where you've got a book that's split into three things. You've got the head part, the torso, and the legs.
Yeah.
And you've got so many different combinations. You've got different outfits. That seems to me to be the thing that they use to decide what these ghosts always tend to look like.
Right.
And they either take the appearance of kind of like the decomposed creature, which we had in this movie, some sort of decomposed creature with a mask on, which was, it kind of took me to Silent Hill, kind of in a way. It had that kind of Resident Evil kind of zombie film kind of feeling about it. And so you've got that combination. You've also got the Bridezilla. You've got the woman who wears the big fluorescent dresses or the dark dresses, depending on the colour that they want to play with.
The woman in black thing.
Woman in black thing, always wearing this kind of like cellular netting, polyweave netting that's kind of loose, and then you've got the typical Ring character who's got a big mop of hair, which has appeared in a lot of things. And
I think Japanese horror's got a lot to answer for, because everyone's trying to copy that kind of crawling on the floor longer, and where it creaks, all his bones got to creak and crack. It can't just be fluid motion.
But it did it all again in this movie. That flip book is the Bible. It's like, what do we want? What we're going to have? Well, we're going to have this combination. We're going to have that combination. And I kind of just wish that there'd be something. I don't know what it is that I want, but again, I want something that's a little bit more unique and original in my appearance.
Okay, but again, I think with these films, I don't think they go for unique and original. I think they go for it is just to scare people. That's the idea. That's all it's for. It's not trying to say anything. It's not trying. I know that's what usually we want that out of a film. We want more. I think for this, it is just the roller coaster. It is just tick all the boxes, try and scare people. Goodbye. See you. Enjoy your popcorn. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No,
and I think if you just go from the jump scares in it, they were jumpy and they scared me. I think it's trying to find. They're not looking to try and get you under your skin or say it be any more than it is.
I want it to be under.
I know you want it to be like that, but I don't think that's not what these kind of films are for.
No. That because
they're trying to just scare you. They're just
it's a haunted house, and that's it. It's just a haunted house ride at the fair.
To then try and do that in ways that you've not seen before. So okay, we've seen she's texting that guy, a neighbour, who who just sort of disappears. He doesn't come back in it after he goes through.
Yeah, he's got a crush on her, and he did nothing with him.
Yeah, so she knocks on the wall. It's like, and then she gets them back exactly, and then she's like, "Oh, that's so cute." So she texts him, and she's like, "I hope he didn't wake you," and he's like, "Oh no," and it turns out he's at his grandma's house, and then you're like, "Oh, okay." So whoever's knocking, but so instead of she knocks again, doesn't knock back, so she just puts her head down, and it's a little bit strange.
Yeah,
I thought
that was
okay.
good.
And then when the hand comes from the ceiling and just grabs it out of nowhere, I wasn't expecting that.
No.
I was expecting something to come from somewhere else, And
I can see that the premise of that scene is we can't do the usual thing.
Well, they're trying to find a new way to just do a jump scare. That's all it is. It's quiet bang, quiet bang.
Yeah, and I must admit that is something that I did like. I mean, the whole the I'm at grandma's thing. The other thing that I did actually jump at was when he dangles her out the window, and there it is. The ghost thing. But the part of me in my head was already saying, why do you need to lean down to have a look out the window so far? And then why do you need to grab her and put her on the ledge to have a look? And it's kind of like, don't... I suppose people do these things. But if you just... And I'm like, why do you need to do it?
All right, but if you say that something's just tried to grab your daughter and take her, because she falls asleep, doesn't she? And she wakes up, she's in a chair on the second level.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the hell? So she tries to get to the... Because I thought, even though that's a very J horror thing, when she gets to
Nightmare on Elm Street.
When she gets to the elevator and presses it, and then it's just behind her and suddenly comes up to her and then starts pushing her.
Yeah.
That's a very Japanese horror thing. The thing that's in the corner and starts to walk towards you, and she's not... And then it wheels her back, and then, obviously, all hosts of horrible things happen. Her dad hears her, comes up. And then... I think if you, as a parent, if someone's tried to grab your daughter and it looks like they've just jumped out of a window, I'd want to see if that thing's dead.
Yeah.
Because I'd want to make sure...
But why put her on the ledge to have a look?
Well, I suppose if you've just been taken, you'd want to look and see, make sure it's there as well.
But he's putting her in unnecessary danger, putting her on the ledge. It's like... It was like Michael Jackson dangling babies over balconies. It was a little bit like...
He's not dangling her over. He's just put her on the ledge to have a look, you know. And
I don't know.
I've done that with River, where I've stood her on the window ledge and I've got holders, make sure she's safe.
Yeah.
And then let her have a look at whatever it might be.
But she's right down there, so she has to really look down there. But of course, that creepy ghost is there to kind of...
To grab her and pull her, yeah.
Yeah, which... You know, I just kind of think by that time I would just say, you don't need to look, let's just get out of here. You don't need to look, let's get out of here. That's kind of like in my head. Yeah. But maybe that's because I'm just not... I just don't get into that. Into the... I don't allow the characters to just take me on that journey. I'm always kind of fighting against them. I
suppose what I kind of do is, within the first 10 minutes of watching a film, I've sort of figured out what it is. And then I'll just let it
go.
Let it
take
wash over him and just, you know. Yeah. And I think whether it's a gift or a curse, the moment a film's on, I'm in the film.
Yeah,
experiencing it as opposed to just watching it.
Yeah, I think I had film school ruined me, basically. I think it's very difficult to be a film reviewer and actually not look at it in that kind of a way of I'm not being sold here. I was sold with It Follows. I was very sold with Starry Eyes. I was in there.
Yeah.
So these films can do that to me. They can do it, but if they don't, then I'm out. I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm there with my notebook.
I suppose with It Follows, I love that so much because it was harking back to the Carpenter films that I love.
There's a nostalgia film.
And then with Starry Eyes, it's not really a horror film.
It's a psychological. And I'm drawn more to the psychological. I'm the Cape Fear, I'm the experimenting terror, and that kind of thing. Did you feel as though that if this was a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, it would have been a good one? If that character was Freddy Krueger, toned down without being a voiced puppet that just dances around. I think it could have. It has that kind of a sense about it, the dream world thing.
Yeah.
A little bit more of a unique vision.
I suppose the parts I like the least about this film is when she goes into the other realm.
Yeah, I never like that because I never like it because they just simply use conventional surrealism.
Yeah,
and it's just too conventional. I mean, surrealism is supposed to be out of your mind, out of this world, and yet in the first one there was a house that they just walks to, and it's the house he's in, and the second one I think it was just merely just a realm. And it was like Poltergeist 3 as well. You know, in Poltergeist 3 they had the big apartment building.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
and they had all the corridors and the things cracked. And as soon as the ceiling cracked, I thought, Poltergeist.
Yeah.
So I just didn't get there. I just didn't get sold.
I guess sort of when it's just someone being terrorised in a house by an unseen thing. I think I'm always in there. I always like that.
Yeah.
The moment, like I say, she starts to go to this other realm and. I don't like that as much at all. But
then again, she just had to call out for Dad, or his dad. I knew that Dermot Mulroney was going to be there because he seemed to be there every time. And as soon as he was there for the third time, I thought, well, he's always going to be there. That he's not going to be incapacitated.
Yeah.
The moment he's actually incapacitated by her for a moment on the floor, and then she slowly takes her casts off by whacking it on the bed. And they just sit there watching it.
Yeah, but she has just beat the crap out of them. And they're all just a bit shell-shocked. I was fine with that.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like you're just sitting there watching it like... I would have thought at least the paranormal investigator would have just got out there and maybe leave the dad on his own. At least that would have satisfied me, I think, if he'd have
it didn't bother me that bit at all. Because again, he went a bit. Loves it, doesn't
he? You love it. He's got something to play with.
He went to this sort of exorcist thing to me of the you're harming your own body sort of thing. I control this now and I'll do what I want with it.
Which impressed me when he started walking on the broken legs and you can hear the crunching and it's kind of like But I kind of wanted Dermot to kind of try and get up and help her, the dad. Also, kind of do something.
Like I said, she just beat him up.
I know, it's kind of confusing.
With a pipe or something, wasn't it?
A wrench.
That was it.
I think it was an adjustable wrench. A red one.
So you'd be pretty shell-shocked, and if you're just coming around and your daughter's doing that, and you're like trying to bring yourself around, So I think they covered it with the wrench.
Yeah, they covered it with a wrench.
They just like sat down on the floor, and then she started doing that, and they just watched it, we thinking, get up, do something. But you've just been knocked senseless by a wrench.
True. Okay, what did you think to the paranormal investigators that got involved?
Well, because they were the only things I liked about the first one. Because they were in the very first one.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't mind them, I guess.
Yeah, it's the familiarity.
Yeah. And again, it's that poltergeist, isn't it? You know, it's the two, you know, they're a bit wisecracking, but the humour's got to come from them.
I think I called them something in the text.
I can't remember.
I was impressed with this. I actually wrote it very slowly. Oh, look! The unconventionally, socially awkward, dysfunctional light entertainment paranormal investigators have just arrived. One of them's eating a cupcake. Yes. and you know, and I get it. Every film needs to have a breather, and every film every horror film needs to have that little bit of a. But did you feel safe with them because of the familiarity? Was it that kind of a, okay, the Ghostbusters have arrived, we're okay now? No,
I just remember them turning up and I went, oh, it's those guys.
Yes.
The only thing I liked out of the first one, so...
A white Mr. T and the geek that they just found up on the street who wasn't doing anything but, you know... which is fine, but... Yeah. So they had no memory of... This is obviously... They get a lot of paranormal calls that take them to events that are actually really happening. Okay, my cable is being
eaten by
a baby. But the good thing is that it's keeping him quiet.
Let's get a picture.
It's keeping him quiet, but it's making my oh yeah, I need to hold on to that end. I forgot.
Oh, wait a minute.
There we go. We're back. And we're back. It's like, if they're there to just provide that light entertainment, then they didn't really have much to do in this, though, but just hold night vision cameras and look scared. Well, not scared. Not actually. They were the least scared because they're into it.
My least favourite parts of this film is when they're trying to link it to the very first Insidious, and that's what they're doing then. They brought them in, so by the end of it, she's going to say, hey, I like you guys, let's join up. And then the end of it, tacky. You see the thing out of Insidious 1. That wasn't very good.
Incredibly tacky.
It felt very sort of like...
Darth Maul.
Oh, he looks like Darth Maul.
Everybody says Darth Maul when they see him, and I'm like, well, why go there? Why? If you look like Darth Maul in the first... Was it the first one that we saw Darth Maul for? Then why keep bringing him back?
And again, with that first Insidious film, it was quite scary. You know, the first time you see him, it's like off the cuff. They just have a shot of someone sat in a chair and it's just behind him. You're like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? But
because he was in the picture frame, wasn't he? He was came out. That was good. That was realistic. But this one,
when they end up going into the other realm in the first one, that's when I've lost it. I'm like, it's just poltergeist. It's terrible. What are you doing?
And that's the thing about horror films is that, I mean, this is obviously another studio funded one.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it's the big studio funded ones that have coming up with the same problems. When am I going to see something? When am I going to see something? We want to see things. We want to go somewhere with this. We've been in the house for an hour and a half. What's going to happen for the last half hour?
Yeah.
We can't be in the house, otherwise, you're not going to get any promotional money. You know, we're gonna hold your distribution money back. It's like, and I just think it's always in the third act they tend to go too far.
Yeah.
And it's a common problem. I think
they need to realise sometimes with horror film, bigger isn't always better. It's the quieter, creepier moments which are...
Exactly. You just keep it on that key, and if it's a ghost story, then let's have some ghosts in this. You know, let's try and kind of find that ghost thing that people aren't expecting. Everybody seems to be thinking that a ghost is a physical thing that walks around your bedroom leaving footprints.
Yeah.
That they are mischievous things that can take you and move you into different rooms, that can throw you and toss you.
Kind of ghost I like.
That's the kind of incubus, baby. But let's tackle the ghost story that, like the urban ghost story, that kind of thing, where it is more about the attempt to actually get ghost footage on camera rather than everything just being there to play with. It's too much there. There's just too much there to see.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why I just never really engaged in it, because I was still thinking, well, I've seen it all now. I've seen every single ghost, and there's nothing that they can give me at the end.
Yeah, I had a bit of a problem with the old woman.
The
was
main...
stalking, not her as a person, but the one who was stalking her, the ghost that was saying, like, if you ever come to this place again, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Her. I mean, all it took for her was to shout at her and it went away. Do you remember it comes at her?
Yes.
And then she just goes, no, whatever she says to her, and it just sort of sinks back to behind the curtains. I'm like, oh, we'll just do that.
Just shout at them, and that's it.
Them,
shout at them and they go away. Or push them. I think the zombie guy with a mask got pushed at one time, and he just kind of fell. He just fell down. And I was like, come on. I need to feel as though I'm threatened here, and the only time you're actually threatened is when you're actually not expecting it.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's
I suppose, like all the Insidious films, it starts off really creepy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the shots where...
Always the first scene.
You can just see that weird thing where, yeah, absolutely. Where it's just waving. That was a creepy...
That's enough
that was really creepy.
Keep doing that for 2 hours, it will drive me nuts.
Yeah, when it chucks her out of bed, I wasn't that happy about it being chucked out of bed, apart from us thinking, ow, her legs. But then we just see it sort of steps off the bed, and then the creepiness when it just starts walking around to her, and she can't move. That's really well done. And then all of a sudden it's just on her back, and she's screaming. I'm like, that's really well done.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who directed this. It's not James Wan.
It was his co-writer for all the Saw films, and he's an Australian actor.
Right.
This is his directing debut. And I cannot remember his name. Oh, yes, I can. And it's coming to me, William
Wallace,
Wanlon or something like that.
Right, okay.
Wanlon. It's kind of like James Wan, but wasn't James Wan the guy who was in the audition, who was auditioning?
I
Sid?
don't know. I'm not sure.
What's her name? Lucy, Carrie, Jenny,
Reagan.
Bush. Just naming presidents.
Well, I was going Reagan as in out of
Exorcist.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Stephen! Is this on? I'm tapping my head. Okay, but I think James Wan did a cameo.
Right. Okay.
Telling her, to.
But again, I think just the creepiness and the jump scares worked. Again, when it goes to the other realm,
forget about it.
Yeah, I'm just not interested.
Other realm movies. I mean, it's clear that this is done well at the box office.
I think it's done alright, yeah.
So we're kind of expecting it to drum up a sequel.
Well, yeah, they can't do another prequel, so it have to be Insidious.
Insidious 2 set up a sequel, right?
I'm pretty sure it did, if I remember correctly.
Because
so there'll be another one, but
nobody wanted to deal with that. No, and I think that that Insidious, they're calling this Insidious 3, but it's a prequel.
Yeah, so it should be Insidious -1.
Yeah, or 0.
Yeah, Insidious 0.
Yeah, it's hard sell for me to think that number 4 is just going to follow that, or is it going to go even further back? Maybe it just go backwards.
Or maybe they'll do what everyone seems to do now and then just start a new timeline, like just try to do with this Terminator Genisys.
Yeah, well,
have you read any of the reviews of this Terminator film?
I think I watched the Red Letter Media reviews and the Commode reviews, and they're both pretty much saying the same thing. It's basically... Arnie knows what he's got to do. He's got to come and say the lines. We need to have every single trope and idiom that you get from all the Terminator films, and it's just to service the fans.
But what I'm getting more now, though, is even the fans don't like it, and Arnie is there to do all the exposition.
What is that thing? Skynet has created a new Terminator.
Where is he?
There are enough bullets in the world to kill me.
There's no way of knowing what he's capable of.
That's what makes him so dangerous.
I'll be back. I've been waiting for you.
You are nothing but a relic.
So, like in the first Terminator, he had 16, 17 lines at most. In this, apparently he has to give all the dialogue and tell everyone exactly what's going on.
Yes, because the chipmunks told me to do it.
I am a Terminator.
I'm the Terminator. But yeah, apparently they go back in time to 1984 again, and they recreate scenes. So apparently, I mean, Commode says that that for the most part, it's fascinating to watch the film when they're actually gone back in time, because you just want to recognise all the things that were in that first film and how they recreated it, and that's really clever, and it's kind of nostalgic, and you kind of there again, but you're not, because it's still surrounded by
Terminator that went into 1970s apparently.
Yeah,
but to kill Sarah Connor's parents. But you never hear of it again. You know, that Terminator, that T-100 or whatever it is, is never heard of again. So they just don't explain what happened to it. And apparently there's so many plot holes and it's just ridiculous. And
Sarah Connor is just a completely different actress who doesn't work. Apparently she's from Games of Thrones.
She is, yeah. She's, I forget her name now, but she's very pretty.
The thing is, as soon as they came up with the title Genisys, and you know, I kind of thought, no, I'm actually not interested in watching it.
I think if I watched it and then we did a podcast on it would just purely be to rip it apart.
It wouldn't. There's no reason for me to do it.
So
it's kind of like, I'm looking forward to doing Mad Max when you actually get the chance to rewatch it and take it in fully, because that to me has been the most exciting movie.
Well, that was the thing, because I watched it and I was watching it with, you know, Mrs. Her indoors. I wasn't enjoying the film at all. I just thought, well, I'm not invested in any of the characters because I can't get a chance to find out exactly what's going on. So I'm just watching people drive fast. So why am I engaged with this whatsoever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I text my friend Matt and I said, I'm trying to watch it. I'm just not enjoying it. And he said, watch it again. He said, it's exactly the film for you, mate.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, right, okay, I'll have to really, when I've got some time, I'll sit down and watch it.
What's funny about that is about this film. Before we actually review it, I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of a spiel on it, because it's the film you expect. It's nothing more, nothing less than a road movie, but it's so much fun to watch, and I think it would be. I know this is working. I'm just bouncing him on my knee, and my monotonous voice is just putting you all to sleep, just like in The Fog, the remake. So yeah. I mean, before we actually go into Mad Max, I do think it was definitely worthwhile to review it eventually.
Yeah.
Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Gosh, all get up, how'd you get so lit up? Gosh, all get up, how they hypnotize.
So what else is kind of in at the moment that's worth watching? Have you?
I really want to watch, and I'm not sure if this is going to. We have to go to the cinema for this. I don't know, but it's Love and Mercy. It's a film about Brian Wilson. Yeah.
Hang on, Brian Wilson. Come again.
The guy who wrote all the Beach Boys music.
Of course.
Oh, Stephen. I'm a huge Brian Wilson fan. He's like my musical hero, right?
Sorry.
People who've watched this film have never realised what was so special about the guy. And it's young Brian Wilson in like the 1966 Pet Sounds trying to do Smiley era, is played by the kid who was the drummer in Whiplash.
Oh yeah.
And older Brian Wilson is played by John Cusack. And I, at first, because I feel so passionately about Brian Wilson, was sort of like, I don't want to see this film. It's going to be terrible, and they're not going to do him justice. I've not read one bad review. Everyone's saying it's Cusack's performance, the best performance he's ever done.
Yeah.
And they really got to the essence of what was so great about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everyone's sort of liking to say, oh yeah, well he was doing this, and they had this battle. The Beach Boys and the Beatles had this battle going on.
Yeah.
But the truth behind it is the Beatles had Lennon and McCartney writing the music. You had Ringo and George Harrison were obviously writing, performing. They had, forget his name now, but the guy who was producing all the music and things like that. But Brian did everything. He wrote it, he arranged it, he performed on most of it, he sang on it, he did everything, and he made music that no one had ever heard. Like John Cusack's been saying in interviews recently, said he didn't know about it And then he spent 2 years listening to Pet Sounds and the Smile Sessions, and at that point he realised that Brian Wilson single-handedly reshaped popular music forever. You hear his influence 35, 40 years on now.
Right,
and
yeah.
he is that important. And he didn't realise himself up until researching the film and then saying, I have to do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really want to see this film now, and I want
Brilliant.
to talk about it.
That's good, yeah.
And then I can flood it full of Beach Boys songs. And...
Which I'll then have to take off because of YouTube.
yeah. But I mean, like... once we finish, I'll play you some of the songs, but like, for instance, he was watching TV and he realised that JFK had just been assassinated. Didn't say a word, just walked to the piano. 5 minutes later, he wrote a song called The Warmth of the Sun, which is complex, it's beautiful, it's staggering, and he did it in like 4 or 5 minutes. He was producing some girl, I forget, it could have been Nancy Sinatra or something like that. And he said, because obviously he did acid and he wasn't the kind of person who really should be able to do drugs. He just didn't mentally be able to cope with that kind of thing. But so later in life, he looks like a puppet, you know. But he said, I'll do some vocal arrangements. So he started doing all these vocal arrangements in a booth, and it sounded terrible. And they're like, how do we tell Brian Wilson that it's bad? And he said, look, let him do his thing, see what it sounds like. If after he's gone, we'll just do something different and just say he has like a writing credit on it. So we did all these different melodies, and they're all they all didn't sound right. When he put them all together, he said it sounded like the most incredible, complex thing they'd ever heard in their life.
Yeah,
and he couldn't get the head around it. He just did it, and he's not like he just hears it in his head and did it.
Yeah,
the guy was a genius, and I know people say
unsung hero. Yeah,
well, yeah, he's very sung. People really, you know what I mean, like God Only Knows is Paul McCartney's favourite song.
Oh yeah.
Apparently they were writing Sgt. Pepper, and McCartney went over to LA to see what Brian was doing, and spent a day with him, and flew back and said, "Scrap it. He's doing something that I've never heard. I can't even put my head around.
Yeah.
We need to try and think of something different here."
Yeah.
And that's why all of them put their heads together and came up with Sgt. Pepper, which is a great album. But what happened is he was doing Smile. It was just really complex music, whereas Good Vibrations would have been on Smile.
Yes.
And my favourite song of all time, which is a song called Surf's Up, is on it. And that's like a sort of really sort of ambivalent song about Vietnam, really, and things like that. And the Beach Boys came back off tour. He'd done all this incredible music and said, "Come on guys, let's listen to it." And they said, "We don't like it. It just sounds like ego music." And what the hell? We're about having a good time and writing about surfing and stuff. What the hell's all this? He's like, "This is what I've got to write about now. I've made you guys millionaires. Please just sing on it." And because it was so negative, he ditched it. So he won't do it, and he just become a recluse. And he came up and wrote the odd like amazing piece of music, but he was basically just a recluse from that point. So, you know, he stayed in bed for a year, gone fat, but he'd struggled with mental illness his entire life, but he never knew he was struggling from mental illness. And then this doctor called Eugene Landy got hold of him and would not let anyone go near him, pumped him full of drugs, really mistreated him. But Brian would not go anywhere without Landy then. He was attached to him all the time.
Sounds fascinating story.
It's incredible. So he ends up meeting this woman. And this woman sees what Landy's doing to him, and I think the latter part of the story will be about how they try to get him away from Landy and try and, you know, get him better. Honestly,
that just sounds so unique, and I'm sorry that I didn't know his name, but I'm music illiterate. You know, I know songs, but I don't know the I don't know where they come from.
The thing is, right, give me Mozart, I can listen to it and appreciate it and I love it. And do you want to put them down?
No, I'll be alright. It's alright.
And I appreciate it and I listen and I understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Beethoven in some respects. The vocal arrangement in Heroes and Villains by Beach Boys that Brian did, I cannot wrap my head around it. It is so complex. But it doesn't sound complex. Like, the chord structure to God Only Knows makes no sense whatsoever, but it's this incredibly beautiful piece of music. The guy just heard it in his head and could do it. The guy's a genius. Up to that point, I was watching like a few interviews the other day, and River was next to me, and I put God Only Knows on, and it made her cry. She's 6 years old, and the melody, it got to her. Because it's beautiful, but it's very melancholic. And she said that, "Oh, you switch it off, it's making me cry." Then she's 6 years old, and music can affect someone like that. So yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. We'll have a chew of that because the other it's funny because music biopics seem to be rising up.
Well, Amy is coming out.
Just about to say.
Yeah, I really want to see it because it's the guy who did Senna, and Senna was incredible.
And it's one of those things that and I didn't listen to any of her music before when she was alive. I didn't really care for her that much. I just thought, okay, she's just trying to be Janis Joplin, and she's just trying to be this and that, and you kind of just, for some reason, media pumps through your head, telling you this about her, telling you that. Focus on they want you to focus on the fact that she's a drunk, focus on the fact that she can't stand up doing gigs, focus on this, focus on that, she's a tramp, she's a trollop, she's a slut, she's this and that.
No one ever stepped back and say, oh, what's wrong with her, let's try and help her.
Yeah, nothing. Media just ruins and wrecks people. It's the same with a lot of musicians and musical artists, actors, you name it, people who are thrown to the walls by the media. And the thing is, if that's the only thing you see, you kind of think, I can't be doing with that. I can't be doing, But as soon as she died, I think it was Russell Brand who wrote an article after she died, and he explained about who she was and where she came from and what it was and their history together, and he just put it all out there. And it was all of a sudden I thought, wow,
yeah,
I missed out here. So I listened to her music and I kind of heard her, and I watched a few videos, and I kind of I had a week of just listening to Amy Winehouse and watching documentaries and things about her and seeing her performing.
She was amazing. She was truly amazing.
Yeah, her influences, of course, Janis Joplin and all those, but she's owning it.
Yeah.
And I completely didn't even notice.
We'll have to watch the documentary, I think, and then maybe do a talk on that.
A double, yeah.
Yeah, because I think she was a poet. She wrote a lot of her own lyrics.
Exactly.
I think she wrote all her own lyrics, and she was writing about how she was feeling, what was going wrong with her, and her dad, I think, was like a real negative force in her life. You know, and I think I seem to recollect there was one point where he turned up to help her, but brought a film crew with him.
He was trying to manipulate it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's what we should be doing next.
Yeah, it sounds like a good plan. I mean, there's a lot of truth to reality, and I mean, of course, biopics and documentaries they always have a slant. They always have a point of view. But if they've got the right people doing the interviews, if they're sourcing from the right people, then you kind of know you're halfway there to kind of getting to know who these people really are.
Well, I know with the Love and Mercy, it was painstakingly researched. They've been to the musicians that were working with at the time.
Who directed it?
I can't remember the guy now.
Not Cameron Crowe, is it?
No. God, that would have been amazing.
It could have been interesting. I bet he's really tied up with that movie. I bet he's going to be really...
Yeah, well, Cameron Crowe, like I've said to you before, he talks about Pet Sounds as being his favourite album. Before he makes a film, he gives every one of the cast a copy of Pet Sounds.
The emotions in this.
Everything you need to know about life is in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's intense, and there's nothing kind of out there really that spells it out more than a passion project like that. To just come to emerge every so often. I mean, not many of them get the chance to have that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to both of those projects.
So until next week,
we're gonna say,
yeah,
be creepy.
Be creepy, guys. Yeah,
be creepy. Okay, the clock's not running. Is that a closer? The clock's not running. Nah.
Let's just keep it weird and awkward like we always do.
Yeah, Aspen's asleep, and finally,
I'm going to use this chance to show Stephen the vocal arrangements of Heroes and Villains, so you can appreciate it.
I might be a whale. I might be a whale for some time. Oh boy!
All right, thanks,
okay,
guys.
We need to figure out how to end this thing properly.
Until next week.
Oh,
that's nice. I think
until
close. Until next week, guys.
Until next week, guys.
Stay classy.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
Tiptoe to the window, by the window, that is where I'll be going. Tiptoe.
Still, clocks is still running. Yeah.